We're going to talk about what the 5-15-2 rule is at the end, and you'll get that definition. It's nothing fancy. It's actually something I just came up with one day as I was thinking about employee engagement and how to be successful, and also failures to assume that we don't want to continue, and how do we evaluate the best move forward for ourselves and our teams. Who am I? Well, I'm not a PhD, so I'm giving you that disclaimer right now. I'm not a PhD about workforce environment or psychology or anything like that. This is only my subjective experience. Most of what I have learned, I've learned because I did it wrong. Okay. My claim to fame of success, so to speak, is just understanding the basics of employee, or I think really it's not employee, it's human engagement, and how that is judged actually by surveys, which that's about the only option that you really have. Who am I on the screen? You see a PowerPoint. That's my daughter on the left. She's in the Army. This is in Alaska. She's now in Japan. In the middle is my daughter, my identical twin sister, if you can't tell, and myself. And then that on the right is my son. He's in the Navy, and myself and my daughter, and we were visiting her in Alaska. Just a little bit about me, so you know me. How do I know? How do I know if what I'm talking about is really working or helping, or are you bored, or is it a paradigm? Are you really listening? Or are you doing laundry? Are you looking at Facebook on your phone? I don't know. I have no idea because it's a video, but hopefully, as I say to everybody, patience, young grasshopper. Hopefully we can figure it out and I can make some assumptions there. So some of the things you will learn is a little bit of history of the common way to judge employee engagement, a little bit of common factors and application that can apply to anyone, how much the human factor may harm or help when talking about emotional intelligence and employee engagement. And I'm going to try to say human engagement because it really is human engagement. It's not employee engagement. And then we're going to talk, well, not finally, but we're going to talk about rules to consider. Now, these are a little weird. I'm not a check the box sort of leader. There's well-known techniques and lots of books which are fantastic, and I've read many of them. But you can read all day long, but unless you're able to apply it, they're useless. So sometimes you have to wing it and adjust accordingly to what works for your audience. As I'm sure you've all heard, know your audience. Finally, we're going to talk about what exactly is the 5-15-2 rule definition. So, how did we start doing all this evaluation of human engagement? See, I did remember to replace employee with human. And it really kind of started back in 2000. And that's with Gallup polls. And Gallup began reporting the polling of the workforce, tongue twister, in 2000. Gallup defines engaged employees, and I'll use that word because they do, as those who are involved in, enthusiastic about, and committed to their work and workplace. Though how they do that is through a random sampling in a specific period. I wish we could evaluate everybody and get that huge evaluation and that huge trend, but you have to go with the random sampling. Annual trend in employee engagement continues to rise, and it has. In 2000, 26% of U.S. employees were engaged, and that figure was up to 35% in 2019. The average for 2020 was 36% engaged. In 2000, the percentage of actively disengaged, and I know everybody looks at the engaged part, but we have to look at the the detractors. We have to look at those disengaged employees, which was 18%. And that figure was actually down in 2019 to October 16th, 2020 to 13%. Now, as a definition of disengaged employee, those are those employees that are not only really not happy, but they tell everybody else how unhappy they are and how they affect others on the team. That is a huge, huge, huge factor. Excuse me. In May of 2020, so think about it, it's right after COVID really ramped up, they recorded the highest rate of employee engagement, 38%. But in 1 month, just 1 month later, because remember in March of that or May of that year, we were all, we're going to shut down for 3 weeks and everything's going to go back to normal. But that didn't happen. So thus that employee engagement rate of the highest they'd ever seen of 38%, 1 month later had the biggest drop ever. And that was to 31%. So it dropped 7%. See, guys, I'm trying to put, for those of you who really like analytics, and that's your sort of presentation, this is this part for you. I'm going to give you a disclaimer. I'm not an analytics sort of person. I'm in IT, but I'm much more the human engagement and human sort of person. I am not the person that enjoys sitting behind spreadsheets. They have their place. I do them. I'm a leader. I have to do them. But if you're looking for all graphs and analytics, this is not the video to watch. I'm just going to be upfront with you. So going back to our drop-in trends. With that, although the 7% drop in employee engagement is very interesting, because those that were listed as disengaged, so remember, those are the ones that not only are really mad and really don't like life, but put it out on everybody else on the team. Those percentages stayed the same. Think of that what you will. It's very interesting, I thought. Also, something that I noticed when doing a little research on this topic from an analytical point of view was that employee engagement has a direct tie to the economy. So we all know the economy goes in cycles. Look at it from 100 years ago. We go in cycles, ups, down, middle, fiscal stability, etc. And every time, at least since 2000, when Gallup started looking at this, the economic trends go along with employee engagement. That kind of goes along with the fact that we don't live to work, we work to live. Thus, that our lives are affected financially, and thus that leads us to where we spend most of our time, and that is at work. It is what it is. Communication. Anything you read about in these Gallup polls, it's all about communication. So I have a saying that I say, and I didn't come up with this. Actually, this was from Sherry Pasil, who is a PhD in organizational development. She used to have this and present this, and so I actually typed it out on a piece of paper and put it on my wall in big letters to remind myself, because we all do it, and that is that we fail to listen to understand. We just listen to reply. And it is biologically impossible to listen and think at the same time. And you're like, oh, no, yeah, I can. If somebody's talking to me and I'm thinking, I know what they're saying. No, you're not really listening. You're making supposition from the things they say and the words you catch, but it is biologically impossible to actually listen if you're thinking at the same time.